Asset management standards, ISO 55000 standards, is a management system. It's not a how to manage your assets better. It's basically, here's a series of good management practices that have been distilled down from all around the world in terms of a systematic approach of how to manage assets. So that's kind of like the ground rules. Now, on top of that, and I think, Mike talked about it in terms of the study that we just completed and it's still not published, but it's heading out the door, is, strategies to renew federal facilities really revolves around the definition of two words in that. Renew, which is more than just do maintenance and repair. It's, keep things moving and think about it on a portfolio level. And we found out there isn't just a single strategy. There's strategies. There's strategies on how you manage your assets. There's actually strategies on the value of how your assets, generate. And I think, the more personally I learn about asset management, the more I understand there's some basic elements to it. And the more you learn that, I think I personally found the more helpful it is to, or easier it is to apply, but more helpful it is to the end user, the stakeholders. Are you getting a bigger ROI out of it, basically? It wasn't like it was just a bright idea from left field that came in and said, hey, let's do this now. It was really in response to a demand in the marketplace. ISO standards serve the needs of improving commerce around the world. So they don't just write standards just to be theoretical. They're really writing standards in response to market demands. And at that time, the idea, and I think what we're seeing here is a progression of thoughts about asset management isn't just about coming up with strategies and figuring things out. It's actually, let's get systematic in that approach. And a couple of points we've heard is also, asset management really isn't about the asset, it's about the value generated by the assets.
NASA asset categories are also looking at ISO 55000. And is this some way that you're helping to break down barriers between the different asset groupings at NASA?
As part of the transformation, there's some barriers that have been broken down. Like I have sat across the hallway from the Chief Information Officer's staff for several years. I never talked to them. But now we've established hackathons and digital transformation activities, and we are now engaged with people at our centers, myself and a few others at headquarters, with the Chief Information Officer, looking at strategies which will have an impact, a big impact, I think, on our facility operations. That just didn't occur before. We were a pyramid structure, and it was difficult to cross those lines. We have another project going on right now that JPL brought to the table, and I got it going. We're looking at our building information modeling and looking at object model attributes, the information that we would like to have for life cycle facility management. This translates, of course, into cost of operation, because if you have the right information at the right time, you can reduce the costs. I've been aiming at this for 30 years. The work started at the Federal Facilities Council in 1990. It was the subject of 2 major events. It was carried to the National Institute of Building Sciences, and actually a lot of money was spent on it from many agencies contributed. But it's now, 30 years later, some of the aspects of it still aren't implemented. It was a bridge too far. We got partway. Now we're going in and trying to cross the rest of the bridge.
The foundation and the framework for this manual were put together using ISO 55000 as a framework to tie together the strategic plan to leadership, to actual operations, to measuring the performance, to improvements, to going back to the context. So that's the framework that we had put together. So we've been able to make lots of progress to move this forward. It's obviously not going to be an easy lift, but thankfully we've with the support of leadership, with our leadership here, we've been able to make that support. And the last thing I'll note on the success for 2020, we had mentioned partnering with components and other CXOs. We've been spending a lot of time partnering with our CFO office. They've really been crucial, and it's obviously a requirement of M2003 to have that partnership. But that has been very much a key to our success, is that partnership with the CFO.